Hey, what's up, gangsters, vigilantes, and villains, and welcome to a Nerdy Bunch weekly review for The Penguin. And help me be my scapegoat to take the fall is my co host, Andrew. What's up, Andrew?
What's up, David?
We're here to talk episode 2 of The Penguin, titled Inside Man. The synopsis is as follows: Sophia works to secure her family's strength while Oz attempts to play both the Falcones and Maronis to his advantage. This episode sets the stakes up. We have themes of class differences, we have themes of betrayal, survival and adaptation, exchanges of power, partnerships and alliances. What are your spoiler-free thoughts?
So I think it was a solid episode after the premiere. It was a little bit slower, but not in a bad way. I think we started to put some color to some of the characters. I'm enjoying seeing some of the detail that they're starting to give us about backstory, and also a lot more fleshing out of Penguin as a character, which I'm really enjoying. I'm enjoying him definitely a lot. Sophia, I'll call out as well as one of my faves from this episode. The continued aftermath of the Batman movie and how that's having like a larger effect on the entire city. It's just a solid episode. I won't say it's fantastic. I won't say it's far from bad, but I really can't wait to see what comes from this, right? Because they're definitely setting up a lot of tension that has to like erupt, and I can't wait for that eruption.
One thing I like about this show specifically is that we mentioned it last week in terms of the supporting cast. And I think this continues to do a good job of, as much as Penguin is the title character, we still kind of have this connection to some of the other cast members, some of the characters. We want to see their journey. What we understand their motivations. We want to see what's happening next for them. And another thing this episode kind of does a good job of is reminding us that Oz is very much a villain.
Yep.
We've said it
A
last
very
week,
bad guy.
but because we get moments where you almost feel empathy for him, right? You feel for him, you understand where he's coming from. You're like, he's not such a bad guy. He's just been, oh, nope, he's bad.
Yep. It just reminds you immediately.
So it doesn't romanticize this person. A lot of films like this, when you're from the perspective of the bad guys, you slowly start to kind of connect with them and you feel for them. You're like, oh, maybe no. This show is like, no, he as much as you might empathize with certain things, he is still a bad person and he's still happily willing to do bad things. There's some situations in some movies where they'll show a person doing bad things and you're like, well, they had no other choice. They
Yeah, I
had
can see
to.
why.
No. He is just straight up out for himself and people, whoever's closest, maybe his mom too. But you can tell that there's nobody he wouldn't stab in the back
Yeah,
to get to what he
for
wants.
sure.
You couldn't even say he is the nicest person within his group of villains.
No, it's not redeemable in
No.
like any way. It's not. No.
Let's get into spoilers. This episode talks a lot about being able to navigate and adapt. And I think this episode, and it's magnified in that scene with Vic, when Vic is burying the bodies and he's just like, stay there,
Stay
stay
there.
there. This is what happens when you mess up, when things go wrong.
It's like,
Open your
I'm
eyes.
sorry. Right?
Open your eyes. And again, this episode has lots of times where plans are made and then things go wrong and plans have to be shifted. So what do you
Isn't that
think?
every time, honestly?
Exactly. And so again, this theme of having to adapt and change, even simple things as, he asks Sophia for them to work together and she's like, no, no, no. But by the end of the episode, she has to adapt and accept it.
Yeah, let's
So
dance.
what do you think of
So
the
great.
overarching themes of having to adapt in this world?
Right. So the reason I said every time is because I'm quite sure that that's the theme they're trying to show us, right? He always has
Mhm.
a plan, and the plan never goes according to what that plan is, right? Yeah, I think he's such an interesting character because we're seeing him overcome his physical flaw, and I guess the very clear fact that he's underestimated by I'd really say everyone, maybe except for Sophia, but even
Mhm.
she's a little too crazy to like estimate him properly, right? She's dealing with other things, right? She's seeing her family's tombstone. She's dealing with the crazy in her head, sleeping in the closet. So she's like losing it. But like you said earlier in the episode, when he came to her, which was just so good, both the acting and the character, right? He was just like trying to pit her against the family, like you should be leading this, man. Because I was there to like, if I was her, I'd be like, I mean, I agree with you, but also shut up. Like I can't trust you. Like get out of here, right? But
he's gassing you up.
He really does, but it was so impressive, him talking to her, then him going to the Maronis, and being like, I like how they addressed that quickly. By the way, it wasn't like a long secret for a while. No, straight
Mhm.
up, like he went and he's like, yeah, ride with it, man. Like lean in. Yeah, he literally said lean into it. Like
Yeah,
what?
yeah, yeah.
I've given you this this lovely option to get your name, get your respect back a little bit, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then
You're still wearing the ring, aren't you?
right? Maroni's like, I mean, fair enough. Oh, and shout out Maroni's wife with the amazing voice.
Oh,
I
the
can never.
actress is so good.
Her voice is yeah, it's one of the best. But just to stay on topic a little bit, like I said, Oswald, since we're now allowed to call him Oswald, right? It's not only us. His yeah, it's honestly like an artful mastery of how to play people and pit people against each other. And I
Mhm.
think honestly, one of the highlights for him in the episode for me was when he had to get on the truck as well, right?
Yes,
And he
yes,
was
yes.
expecting that he'd be in the car behind and they'd all
Mhm.
get wiped. And just seeing him in that moment, like go from telling the joke to killing those two guys, yeah, to just like it was all so well panned out. And I feel like one thing you have to give like Penguin credit for that he gets his hands dirty, right? This isn't like
Yes.
I'm not just telling somebody to do, no, like he's literally in 3 to 4 this guy's probably dead situations probably a week, right? And then he's like,
Right, right.
psych, I got dirt on someone, pull out of my envelope, right? And then it's like, oh, like he's so great at distraction, and I'm just enjoying seeing that aspect of it, right? Like seeing a villain outwit other villains, right? This is like I keep reminding myself, like these guys are all bad. I don't
Mhm.
I don't have
Yes, yes.
sympathy for anyone here. I'm not no like go ham, penguin, go absolutely ham. I think what's extra interesting is like the juxtaposition of his relationship with his mother,
Mhm.
right? So you just get to see a slice, kind of like Tony Soprano, if you watch Sopranos,
Mhm.
a slice of seeing what this person is like in their best form, right? Like he really does, love his mom and tries to take care of her. But
Mhm.
like you said, that it's almost more like an intermission for the halftime in a football game, right? It
Mhm.
has no
Mhm.
bearing because he's a terrible
Mhm.
person, but it's still nice to see, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm really enjoying this Oswald outwitting and getting his hands dirty very, very much.
I loved when his mother's like, "I deserve a better life. If my son is nothing, then what am I?"
Like,
Damn.
damn. I mean, mama, nothing. I mean, I don't know what,
Like,
like,
damn. But what I like about this portrayal of Oz, it's not necessarily that he's some kind of masterful genius. His
Mhm.
superpower is being, like he says to Vic later, is being able to adapt.
Yeah,
He's very quick to adapt. Like a lot of things were not part of the plan. That was not the plan. But
never.
his strength is that he doesn't freak out or freeze or like, oh my God,
Yeah,
what's going to happen? He
yeah,
just, so many, like you said, so many times where he's literally, people are literally about to kill him. And he just somehow figures something out what to
yeah.
say, what to do to stop that from happening. And he realizes himself, that's his greatest technique. If you don't know how to adapt in this life, you get killed and you be in the ditch. And that's what he's trying to teach to Vic. As much as that's a tough lesson, it's the reality of that life. You have to be able to adapt unless you end up being in a ditch.
Simple as that.
Right, right. And sometimes there's power and respect, you have to take it. And that's why he gets his hands dirty. Even if sometimes that's for show, right? Where when he has
Yeah,
to pivot and he pretends like he's going, because you'll think the whole time he's about to kill Castillo, and he's just like, "Yo, Castillo," and
yeah,
he just shoots the guy next to him. Now he looks like he saved him.
yeah.
So then he won't be the one that's like, he's always thinking
Well,
steps 10 steps ahead in
yeah,
terms of
like
pivoting.
perfect.
Yeah, right. This might help me later,
Yeah.
things like that. Because even the other guy was like, "Oh, if Oz didn't save this guy, he would be dead."
Exactly. Like he did. I didn't say it. Like you hear from him, man. Yeah. No. He's
That
so
was
good.
smart. I was just like, "Oh, okay, that's really smart." But then he talks about being underestimated, right? Especially by Luca, Falcone's cousin, who's kind of self-appointed, taking over the family, right? No one
Yeah.
chose him. He kind of just decided to take over himself, which
Hmm.
kind of makes Sophia feel some kind of way. What I like about this narrative as well is not only are we seeing how they're treating Sophia, but I think it's also a commentary on how women are treated in this world, right? Oh, it's just the men are talking. You can stay
Yeah.
out of here, close the door on her. We see Sophia's narrative begin to grow in the sense of, and through Cobb reminding her, like, hey, you should be in charge. You should be the power person. What do you think of Sophia's narrative in this? And we see why she has the scarring on her neck.
Yeah. I love how they started the episode with the EMDR, the red light. Just a really well filmed sequence.
Light therapy.
Curious to try. I hope I never have to. But yeah, first of all, her psychologist a little weird, right? He was hugging up
Y-
on her real,
I
real
was thinking,
close.
is there some history between the two
What was
of
his
them?
name again? Justin something.
No, his real name. Well, the
No,
character name was
in the show,
Julian
Julia,
Rush, played
Julian
by
Rush. Sorry,
Theo
yeah,
Rossi, who was also in Marvel as well.
and Sons of Anarchy for any
Yes.
well seasoned TV show watchers out there. But
You,
anyways,
you know, when I saw him, I thought of your theory. I was like, Hugo Strange.
right? But I see some people online are thinking Scarecrow, but this is why I love. I love watching shows with the world because
Yeah.
I mean I feel like we just beget. He might be nobody. He might be a new character, but
Or
I
some
agree. It was just so
or a random character from like 1942, issue number 603. Like we all
yeah.
saw him for one panel. You know?
But it's just that kind of character, you know, his clout. You, I guess, you expect to see him in kind of a bigger role. So I'm curious. I want to see what they do with that. But yeah, besides the point, like he was holding Sophia in a way that I don't think is part of therapy. But
No,
what do I know?
I felt there was something more to that. I don't know.
That's a thread that they'll unravel. But anyways, following Sophia's journey, yes, like you said, it's definitely a thematic referencing to how women are treated. She does not get respect. She does not get included. And you know, at the end, he's even like, you know, her cousin's like, "Oh, yeah, it's time for you to go to Italy." Like, sorry, did you ask me?
I love how they tried to play her though with the other cousins. Like, oh, you know,
Mm,
remember our trips to Italy? We used to go. We should go for a girls' trip.
yeah,
And it's just like,
like,
no, you thought you were slick.
like I can't believe it. She's like, I can't believe what's happening right now. And it was very powerful for her because you know when she was looking at the tombstones or the names of her father, her mother, and now her brother,
Mhm,
um, you know, just seeing it from her perspective, I'd definitely be like, I can't just let go of all my family stood for.
mhm,
Two, like, am I next? Am I like? She's definitely paranoid in there, and I think it's so interesting that they're going through the storyline of the hangman character as
mhm.
well with her, right? Because I had to do some research into that personally. I was not priorly familiar, but I'm super intrigued. Because we found out that what if we're hearing correctly from the radio thing, she killed
Seven,
what seven women,
yes,
seven
yes.
young
7
ladies.
young ladies, and they call her the hangman, and we don't know the
Yeah,
details of everything, but that's what at least what she was charged with.
and I'm curious, right? Because that, from what I see, deviates slightly from the comics. Not that this
Yeah,
matters.
yeah,
This
yeah.
is just more expansion. I think it was cops she killed in the comics originally. So I'm curious as to what they're doing with that. Why, her reasons, just everything. But once again, great acting from her. I feel like she's really portraying that I am a crazy, semi misunderstood woman who is also losing it. The way they even show us her fingers
Ugh.
and their
I mean, she
scars.
definitely has severe PTSD. You know,
Uh-huh.
sleeping in the closet. You know, she can't live in the comfortable life. Even when the doctor says you're safe, she's like, "I'm not safe. I'm home."
Yeah, I'm
I
home.
was like,
That
"Oof."
was such a deep line. First, I guess it's meant to be the opposite, but that
Right?
was like, yeah.
It's very telling. Very, very telling. And with her, what I find interesting with her portrayal is that they do a good job of making me question what, did she do those crimes? And is she
Yeah,
crazy? Did she do those crimes because she's crazy? Or is she only crazy because she was institutionalized in Arkham? In my mind, I could see something that, maybe because, we've established also that her father, yeah, Falcone, was also
crazy.
like crazy and always choking women to
Killed
death,
the mother.
and was having illegitimate kids everywhere and then killing their mothers. Technically, Sophia and Catwoman are half sisters. And so I could imagine a situation where Daddy Falcone killed these women, but needed someone to take the blame for it and blamed his daughter.
Yeah,
She's sent to prison, and then that's where she
yeah.
breaks.
I could see that too. I definitely had that thought.
And the only person that had her back was her brother. She didn't break and kill people. She was framed for killing people, sent to prison, and then she broke.
And they went crazy. Yeah.
They're giving us some level of empathy towards her, unless I'm reading it incorrectly.
Mhm.
That we feel kind of sorry for her when everyone's staring at her and looking at her. You know, oh, get away from my child. Like
Yeah,
she wasn't
yeah,
actually feeling. She was feeling good when someone was talking to her, and she only
yeah,
kind of had that aggressive look once she realized, oh, you're just lying to me,
yeah,
pretending to be.
exactly.
Because even when she says, all you care about is the money and the drugs, they disrespected us. We can get more money back again. She's the only
Yeah,
one that's thinking of the family, not just from a business perspective, but from a family power,
respect.
like, that
Hmm.
kind of line, and I like that. Here's my question: even though she's asked Oz to side with her, does she fully trust him though?
100% no. If that's your question, she no, she definitely doesn't. But I think by the end, again, I think she's in the position of, okay, I trust no one. But by the end of it, she I won't say trust us, but realizes that she can use him effectively, or maybe she needs him in order to accomplish her current goals of becoming the head of the family, right? She definitely knows that he knows things and he's good. But when I say trust, like I don't think she's not inviting him up to her bedroom type of thing. Like they're not on that type of relationship yet. But Oz can get there. Oz has been really good at I guess like kind of sowing the seed, dropping the sob story of his brothers at the funeral, just slowly trying to almost like disarm her a little bit. So yeah, I could see that.
So this episode played me twice. Played me in one moment where you're thinking, because they do a lot of setup for Viti to get the blame for everything, because he has the pictures of him with the woman. Viti is the one that calls him Penguin. He's like, "Hey, Penguin."
Mhm.
He actually
Mhm.
says that to him. So you're thinking the
I
setup
was
for
like,
that.
ah, there it is.
And so when
I
Lucas just like, search everybody for the knife, you're like, oh snap, he's gonna blame Viti for this one.
they did so well with that, man. They threw
They
me
played
off.
me, completely
They
played
played
me. What do you
like
think of that
that
sequence?
was fantastic. 'Cause when they searched video and they were like, "Oh, nothing on him," I was like, "What?"
Yeah, exactly.
I was literally about to say, "Search again." Like, you made a mistake. But I thought so that was perfect. One with playing with the fact that you set up Castillo,
Yeah.
um, with playing with the character of Penguin. The Penguin is probably the pettiest of villains that exists, right?
Mhm.
He always, if somebody pisses him off, he bankrupts their family, sends their cousin to death. Like he goes to that level in the comics.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
very petty. So it very much felt great because this was almost like it was almost like payback to Castillo eventually,
Yeah, yeah.
like retroactively from even from saving him, right? Like
Yeah.
imagine saving that guy and then somehow framing him. Like no one is gonna think, yeah, Penguin framed him. Like it was literally perfect. Like I
Even
had to give it
even
to him.
earlier when he was like, "Yo, Castillo, no hard
Mm,
feelings, right? Working for the same
yeah,
team."
yeah, no, specifically Castillo, like
In front of everybody too.
mhm, exactly. So I think that's fantastic of them just because they're really telling us the kind of villain that Penguin is, right? He's not
Mhm.
even like a do it to your face type of thing. No, no, no. He just he's gonna get you out of the picture in the worst way possible.
And you
And
won't know he did
nope. He
it.
doesn't want the credit. He wants to. I guess his brand has to stay under the radar, right? He
Yeah.
can't be the one saying like tell them that he was from the north. No, it
Right, right.
was it was just a stroke of genius, and I think what I enjoyed about it again is just harping back to the fact that the plan didn't go the way he wanted it to, right? He was. I mean, they're trying to get the guy in the basement to say a different name,
Yeah. We're supposed to go after
and
Vidi.
yeah, and then Vic called, and Vic couldn't get his task done. Which again, I like that realism because Vic is a kid he just met who was trying to steal. Right? He's
Mhm,
not he's not a mastermind. This isn't the Robin to his Batman. At
mhm,
least not yet.
mhm.
Right? So I like that kind of like stroke of realism with Vic not succeeding, and then it allowed us to see Penguin's quick thinking because I feel bad for the guy. It was just like
Even Vic earlier on, he's just like,
let's
"Wait, but I
change.
have some questions." And he's like, "Don't worry about the questions. Just go with it."
Just-
Like
like he's thinking like these Gen Zs, man. Questions. He's like
back in
back in
my
my day, I
day,
used to figure things out.
figured to get some guy asked me, "Can I drive?" I said yes, and I figured it out.
And drove a car all weekend. Crashed. But guess what? I knew how to drive by the end. And I'm like,
It's
yeah.
it's funny you say that because that's also a difference. It is a very different generational thing, right? Because yes, I understand his Oz's generational thing where it's just like, my generation, we figured things out, got shit
Mhm.
money. But in this day and age, I can't just grab a car, teach myself how to drive, and we're good. I got a job. It
No,
doesn't
no,
it's not
no,
gonna it
no,
doesn't
no,
work
no.
like that.
Very, very different times.
Very different times. It couldn't do that. I'll be put in jail before I get the job. Or two, learning to drive a car isn't just about getting in a car and figure it out. There's so many
Yeah,
other things that you have to know to
yeah.
drive a car in this day and age. But I was saying those two things that threw me off. The second thing that threw me off, again, the show does a good job of expectations. So when Sophia hires the detective, Marcus, and I like when she's like, "Didn't you work for my dad?" He's like, "Half the police force worked for your dad,"
Yeah,
reminding
like,
us.
so, ma'am.
And I like him. Like as much as he's a junkie, he's like, "Nope, I don't work for you. Nope, nope, nope." He understands. Like, I'm good.
The
I don't want this.
ramifications. But then I also like that he's so easy, but not easy, right? Because he got some
Right,
drops. I was like,
right.
yeah,
you,
like, all
you,
right,
can- you can take
what
some
do you
now.
need?
You
Yeah,
can take some now.
that was nice. Like,
He turns around.
he literally was like, don't mind if I do. And the fact that
But
he's even like, no, I can't help you anymore. She gives him some cash. She's like, actually, you know what? My schedule just freed up. Yeah, I remember exactly where I hit those files. I got you.
oh my god, I thought that was going to be like a subtle thing introduced now that would be an ongoing hindrance for Cobb later. Like I thought
I
this guy would figure it out. Like because
right.
especially with meeting Eve and her girls, and Eve was just
Yeah,
like,
but he still might
"Hey,"
though.
I know, because
Right?
especially because now it's reminding us that there's someone who knows what he did.
There is, a
You know,
thread that's loose. But
yes,
then
yes,
I also feel like this is the kind of show where like Oz knows that too, and like if it comes to, I mean, I'm sorry, he would probably kill Eve. Like, I'm not saying that's what happens, but that's the kind of character he is, right? He's he's not gonna let him go down.
can I take it one step further? I
Uh-huh.
think if it came down to it, he would kill Vic.
Of course, he'd kill Vic. He's
Like
probably even
I,
setting Vic up. Very
that's
much
what I'm
like
thinking,
the Acolyte. Remember whoever watched that, right? Remember we saw this, right? When you start to like leave all these breadcrumbs,
right?
and there just happens to be somebody that was always there at this particular crime scene. It's like,
Because yeah, because at every place, uh, 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 at least for the most part, Vic's been there with him or been
yep.
around the area. So it's like if it comes down to it, he can turn around and be like, "Oh yeah, it was this guy that did it.
And
Kill
that's why
Vic
even
instead."
the scene with Vic lying in the grave like was almost like an omen of
Right,
sorts, right?
foreshadowing.
Yeah, just like this is strange. Is this hazing or is this is this a breadcrumb? I'm not sure. We stay tuned, right? But I again, I think it continues to point to the fact that remember, guys, this is this is not a hero. It's
Yep,
not even
yep,
this is not even a misunderstood villain. This is
yep.
actually an egotistical, very cunning, conniving, rat-like
Right. Like
persona.
I think the only person he wouldn't stab in the back, and I don't know for sure, is maybe his mother.
His mom for now, yeah.
For now, I don't know, because maybe if it was a choice, it's like, all right, stab your mom in the back and get the keys to the city. I don't know if he would say
He'd be
no.
like, Mom, I'm doing this for you, right? He'd be like,
Right.
Mom, this is what you would want. This, that. Or even like I could see his mom just being like, you stupid, stupid boy. I hate you. I wish none of your brothers died. I wish you died instead. You're ugly.
Right.
And he just shoots her and he's like, that was the one thing holding me back, man.
Speaking of brothers dying, there's one line where he's venting to Vic. This is the time when he complains about the cilantro. Tastes like soup.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like, pick them out. Pick them all out now.
He is. Where is it? Yeah, he goes. He's complaining. He's like, most people would be happy if their dipshit brother turned out dead. Maybe ecstatic, but not Sophia. She's freaking uptight. I was like,
like,
what?
how do you say that?
What does that tell you about how he felt when his siblings were killed or died?
Like, right, like clearly some relief. Again, I don't. Are we told how they die in this universe?
No, no. We just
Because I
that
mean, hey, you might have killed them.
we know they
It's
died, and it's assumed it happened at the same time. That's all we know. But
and it ties with the character of Oswald, where he has killed his siblings in a comic because, if I'm not mistaken, they bullied him when he was younger, right? So
hmm
that's the psyche of this character, and I think it's also interesting to watch such a live wire character exist because
hmm
he will take down the entire city with him. He's not one of those like, oh, I'll just go down. No,
hmm
spiteful, petty, and just super smart, especially when backed in a corner.
Mhm. Mhm. Um, one of the themes that this plays with, and I don't want to go too deep into it, the movie also plays with it as well, in terms of how money and help is given to the city. And this is something that people always say. People that don't read Batman comics always like
Yeah,
to say this. Oh, if Bruce Wayne has so much money, he could help
let's
people as
just
Bruce
see.
Wayne than as Batman.
Yeah,
And as if the comics don't deal with that narrative. And I think this story and the Batman touches the narrative where it talks about, in the Batman talked about the Wayne Foundation left money, but then that money got abused and used by different people and the police and everything like that. It was the Rebuild Gotham Fund. And the same
yeah.
thing is happening here, where like with FEMA, they're using like the FEMA trucks to
To
distribute
to
their
to do bad
their
things.
drugs, like using these good things as a mask to do the bad things. I find that interesting. And I also find interesting that this is low key a narrative. It's not something we don't get often. This is basically what happens next after the villain won. Because Riddler won.
Yeah,
He got his plan done. But then what's ironic about that is that Riddler was going after the
the
powerful
elite.
people, the elite. Yeah, it's the poor people who are suffering now. It's just like it shows you how these villains plan.
Just like toy.
This is what happens when your shit goes wrong. Oh, when your shit goes well. It actually causes
Yeah,
problems for for
yeah.
people who who
Yeah,
who need
you
help.
you know I love that just because this is part of the Batman world, right? I feel like
Mhm,
it adds extra gravitas to why Batman does what he does because
mhm.
he's like, this is why I can't let a villain win. Like, okay, you're going after the elite. One, you didn't get them. Two, you made the
Mhm.
city worse. So, like, literally, what did you do? Like, what
In
was the
fact, you're
bloody
empowering
point?
the elite more now. They can get more
Yeah,
power now.
like, like you've actually helped absolutely no one but you've made things 10 times worse.
Yes,
So
yes.
it's a nice point where you know you don't want to see an extremist villain like the Riddler win, right? I know
Mhm,
this is why I also like, I mean, with any IP, but Batman especially, he has a kind of diverse rogues gallery, right?
mhm,
A lot of crazy people, but like, my point is, this wasn't like a Mr. Freeze does some things for love, right? Some things you can even kind of feel or understand.
mhm,
Riddler just went crazy, and Penguin is there trying to like gobble up all of the available space, and just seeing everything unravel, I think really helps set up the next Batman movie because it's almost
mhm,
like we're seeing a whole season of a show that's telling us why you need the Batman in this world
mhm,
in a way.
mhm. Agreed. Two things I like. One, I like Oz's apartment or his loft apartment.
It's
I was,
safe. It's
well, it's not a
safe
safe.
bet.
I was watching the behind the scenes, and
Vault.
it's almost like a safe. Basically, that building is an old jewelry building
Hmm.
in the Diamond District, and that his loft is where the jewelry repair shop is. So usually that's like vault like.
Yeah.
That was really cool. That was nice. I was like, that's
It's just,
it's
yeah,
a
so good.
and what else? There was another thing I liked. I wrote it down. I think I lost it. Yeah. Anything that you like that stood out to you that we haven't talked about yet?
Just continuing to, like I said, see the power dynamics. I'm curious to see what Sophia does going forward. I,
You know she's gonna
I
kill. She's gonna kill Luca because
no,
Luca
no, she
killed the
does
guy.
too. Because I was about to touch exactly on that. Because I was like, in that scene, she was like, "Give me the gun, give me the gun, give me the gun, give me the gun, give me the gun," and then he shoots her. And I feel like in her mind, there's nothing more undermining than that, right? You're like, that
Yep.
was the moment where I meant to show my power, and then you just showed that, like, you basically said, "Keep quiet, little girl," in
Yeah.
that
Exactly.
moment,
Exactly.
and she did not take that lightly.
Nope.
That's what's pushing her to ally with Penguin, which, well, so the point I was leading to is, I'm curious as to how things are going to go bad between her and Penguin, right?
Hmm, hmm.
It's not going to end up. I mean, maybe it does. Maybe they end up ruling the city together as co-CEOs for a
Nah.
minute.
She'll find out.
I even feel like, no, she doesn't know yet, because I think her crazy
Yeah. No,
would
she doesn't know
outweigh
yet.
the desire. If she knew yet, she would definitely be killing him. But it's definitely going to be. I can almost see her having a one on one with the, how do I just forget their names? The Maronis, right? And somebody
Mm,
there spills the beans, and she loses her shit and goes after Penguin. That set up a good finale, because I think we still need to get some more Hangman um, unraveling. Like you
mhm,
mentioned, I'm curious as to the reasonings behind her actions. I don't think
Mhm.
it's necessarily straightforward. And I was, as much like you said, it's the Penguin show. I think she's actually been a great second character to kind of put a lot of focus on, right? And just see
Mhm.
how she's navigating this murky waters of crime family who's now lost its
Mhm.
head and son.
Speaking of crime families, I found it interesting that we got introduced to Sal Maroni's wife,
Wife.
Nadia.
Mhm.
Nadia, played by Shoreth.
Ah,
I
dear,
can,
dear,
I can never
yes.
pronounce it. She's in lots of sci-fi stuff. I love
She
that
is. I remember her voice.
actor.
I really can't do it.
Yeah, and what I like is that, and this is deviating from the book, is that so he married into a Persian family, and it's almost like she's kind of taking the reins there.
Yeah,
And so again, like the Persian side of the mob, with
they've
the
replaced all
son
the
and
Italians with the
right, they place all the
Persians.
time. Exactly, exactly. So I think that's interesting. I want to see when that goes, because I think it's going to be more that she's the one in power,
Mhm.
right? When she's just like he's a dog. A dog can be made to be submissive. I was like, she's got some manipulating plans as well, I feel.
She does for sure. Definitely a powerful character.
Yes, definitely a powerful character. Anything else that we haven't mentioned yet? We found out that crime has gone up 42%. It's quite a lot.
Yes, that's correct. Again, it's giving us more reason to, like I said, setting up the Batman too to just be like, there's so much I have to solve, and I see why I cannot let a villain win.
Yes. Oh, yes. Two moments happen that don't quite get discussed, but get highlighted a little bit. One, and they both involve Vic. He stops by and takes a look at the
The
missing
poster on
posters.
that,
Right,
yeah.
he takes more than a glancing look,
Mhm.
and Vic gets a text message from someone called Graciela.
Are you okay?
Are you okay? We don't know if this is a family member or this is a lover or just a friend. I'm assuming it's either family member or lover. He's ignoring. And so I'm curious where that's going, because we were made to believe that he's all alone. Apparently he's
Yeah.
not. So curious to
Mhm.
see. And I like that. It was just a subtle thing. We don't get much of it. It's just there.
Yeah.
Subtle. Also, I liked again, uh, 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 Oz likes to tell his stories about his past. He tells the story of pinches. Like, this guy was so great. You know, the driving story.
The
What I
one he
liked
used to
about the
drive
end,
for. Yeah.
he's like, "Oh, what happened to him?" And I love that part because he tells a story of who he was. But when it's like, "What happened to him?" It's just like, "Oh yeah, no, yeah, he was killed by Carmine because he was a rat." Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah, right. It's like focus, okay?
that's not the point of the story, which is
Point
funny
was
because
made.
he was killed by Carmine for being a rat, whereas that's how Carmine himself died because he became a rat himself.
All right, yep.
So
It's a vicious cycle,
is
man.
that the
Yeah.
cycle? Are you trying to say something?
You can't escape it, and it's only because Vic did tell that one of those ladies that came over that he's Penguin's driver. So are they setting up for a similar theme? Who knows?
Speaking of that moment with the cam girl,
Because
when she's
she
like,
mentioned his
when
his
she's like, "Where are
town
you
or
from?"
his area of Gotham.
Yeah, where are you from? And then he's just like saying where he's from. Where do you say he's from again?
What's it
Um,
called? Shadow Point. Shadow. It's not
Sh-
Shadow Point.
Shadow Point. It's not Shadow Point.
It was the Shadow Realm. It's
uh,
literally the worst. Was in the comic? I know for a fact it's one of the worst areas in Gotham, if not the worst.
Crown Point.
Crown Point. That's
Is
what
your
I said.
place? He's from Crown Point, and then just the way she said it, like, "Oh yeah, that place is up. Everything's
She's
terrible.
like, "Oh,
Everything's
you're from
horrible."
there? Oh man, your whole family's dead, bro." So she might as well have said that.
Right?
So
I was like,
terrible.
"Oh, okay."
But then she caught herself and she was like, "Oh, how do you know
Mhm.
us?" But
No,
then I mean,
I did. You get the moment though, before we close out, they almost feel like Oz does feel something for Vic because he sees him in the corner, like all like worried
yeah,
by himself. And this is when he just got the text message. And then he's just like, "Hey, I want you to introduce you to this person." And kind of he sets up the hookup or whatever potential
yeah,
hookup with this girl. So it almost made me feel like, oh, maybe Oz does feel something for him. You know,
he
he's not
does. I mean, hmm,
he's not completely like
feels
horrible.
like a little breeze, like it's just like a little draft.
Though in with Oz's ego, because you know the way Oz talks about other people, right? He's like, "Oh, I used to look up to this guy. I used to look up to this guy." He almost wants to be that person for Vic,
For a big,
so
yeah,
Vic can be like, "Yeah, this guy." Well, tell a
yeah.
story because he's all about the stories. Yeah, so I could always see it that way. Uh,
My other random point to note is, Penguin speaks Spanish. In case,
well,
yeah,
no. At the very least, based on what we saw, he understands Spanish.
fair enough. Penguin hears Spanish, right,
Because like
and replies in English.
my wife is Spanish, and then I was just like, "What is he saying?" She's like, "If you notice, he only says like one word in Spanish, and then the rest is
Yeah,
English."
yeah. But he comprehends, or he can read the subtitles we're seeing. But that was yeah, an interesting point to note.
And I wonder if that's going to come back, right? Because they made a point for him to say, "Oh yeah, my mom died a few years back," so he's lying about
To
his mom
Sophia,
dying.
right?
Yeah,
Listen, call it now. Sophia is killing his mom.
something's coming. She's going to find out that his mom exists, and
She's killing his mom.
that's why he won't put her in like an old person's home, because again, she'd be in the system, and he
Yeah,
doesn't want anyone to know.
and even yeah, a thing I noticed honestly after my second watch was that he doesn't show up to his mom's in his
Yeah,
little purple purple Mazzy,
no,
right? He's keeping some image. He's leaving her stuck in the
lovely,
Brady Bunch era
right?
of like
He,
just happy thoughts.
he even
Their
like
son's
last
broke.
week we saw he even takes the train, part of the way,
Hmm.
so that there's no, because he could have driven all the way,
Yeah,
but he takes a train to a car at a specific hidden location
yeah,
and things like that. He's very careful in that regard, but I think he would definitely be found out. I think
100%.
either the mom's going to be found out, or Eve, the hooker, is going to be found out. Either way, one of those two things or both is going to be the thing that kind of
And
begins.
or Vic, right? The
Yeah, yeah,
unraveling could. He actually has as careful as Penguin thinks he is. He's also like reliant on other people to a point where he's not. He's not. He said it to Eve as well. It's like no one's untouchable, and she's like,
yes.
neither are you, then.
Neither
And
you
he's
will.
like, I mean, he's like touche, but shut up. But I think that's what's going to be interesting with this show because I feel like obviously I'm expecting him to outlive this show and probably end up in future Batman movies, maybe. But the truth is, I don't know, right?
Yes.
I don't know what they're planning to say. Yeah, I don't know if he makes it out of this. I'm expecting so, but I think I'm leaving that ambiguity to kind of let myself enjoy the show a little bit more because Penguin, even from my little knowledge of him as a character, it's not little. He likes to bite off more than he can chew sometimes,
Hmm.
right? His ego does get him in the way. He never just like settles and says, finally I'll enjoy this little turf. It's always like, okay, what's next, right? And he
Yes.
always oversteps, and he's going to step on the wrong toes eventually,
Yep.
and he's going to get snubbed. And we're all here for it, right? Like
Hmm.
like you said, this is not a. I'm not rooting for him, but I am rooting for the demise of them all, which he's
Hmm.
orchestrating, and then rooting for his demise. It's almost like you wait your turn, Penguin, which is what I feel like the Batman is doing. He's like, I see what you're doing, but just continue
Yes, yes.
when I get to you, boy.
And I've always liked the Batman stories that have this transition, right? Because you have the organized crime families who are like the villains in Gotham through for a huge amount of time. And then you get people like Batman who come into play. But then because he comes in, you start having the crazy villains who now escalate it. Now
Yeah,
they slowly push the organized crime people out of the way and they become
yeah,
irrelevant,
yeah.
and it's
Like
taken over all the
imagine this
crazy.
world with Joker.
You're right, exactly, exactly. And I've always loved the stories that kind of play with those both those worlds. Well, what do you know? These think we're 2 episodes into the show, 2 of 8, I believe, so 6 more to go. I think it can go to so many different places. I think we have other characters coming in, like who's this Graciela? Could this be someone who disrupts what's happening? I don't know. Anything can go. Find us on social media at the Nerdy Bunch. If you'd like this podcast, share with your friends. Hit that subscribe button and give us a like or stars or whatever, wherever you're
It
listening to
is.
this. It helps us get more awareness out there. Tune into some of our other podcasts. We're also currently doing Agatha All Along, weekly review of that, and a sprinkle of other movies that are coming out. So check those out. Did you watch Transformers 1 yet? No, you didn't.
Soon ASAP.
um, you can also find us. on email, on your email, the nerdybunchpodcast@gmail.com. You can ask some questions, let us know your thoughts out there. We'd like to hear what you guys think on the latest content, or if you want us to do a tech podcast review. Andrew and I are huge tech peeps as well. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, David.
My name's English Dave, and this has been a Nerdy Bunch presentation of our weekly review of The Penguin. And as always, Andrew,
Keep it nerdy.
keep it nerdy, you know.